Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. It's going to be a plan with me video. I love watching plan with me videos, especially homeschool videos. I mean, really all plan with me videos, but I like homeschool plan with me's because I feel like I always pick up like little tidbits. I like to see how they do things. So that is what I'm going to be doing today, is I'm going to be sharing with you kind of my weekly plan with me for homeschool. And this is part of an open collaboration set of videos called the show and tell videos that are hosted by Abby at Rooted in Rest and Jessica at the Waldock Way. I'll link them below, as well as the playlist for you to check out. Lots of wonderful ladies and see how they all do it. So let's get into the planning. Hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, or welcome back if you have been coming for a while. And so I'm going to take you along on my planning process. So I have got all my supplies. So first, here is my Simple Planner by Mardel. And I have a whole video about kind of my planner setup. And so please go see that. It includes my Sunlight planner as well as my Mardel planner. But a lot of my weekly planning gets done in this Mardel planner. So let me just hop in really quick, because my kids are all quiet timing or napping, hopefully. And I tend to do my planning a little bit in the margins. And so I'm actually going to share that with you, because I tend to plan in about I think it's about 4 chunks of time. And it's basically in the most important to the least important. Like, for instance, if I don't get to the last thing, it's not that big of a deal, but I have to get this kind of first few things done every week. And so I have developed this routine because I tend to get interrupted quite a bit with a lot of little kids. And so this is how I've handled it. I can't just block off like a whole morning on Saturday or anything. And I know a lot of you can't either. So hopefully this is helpful to kind of see how my mind works when I do my planning for the week. And so the first thing I tend to do, which I will show you in just a second when we move over to my kids' desks, which are over there, is I clean out their binders. I take out all the assignments from the week prior and I see if there's anything left. And then I consult kind of my Mardel planner to see if we missed something or if we just didn't get to everything that week. So I know I have to roll it over to next week. So I always do that first. I grab those assignments and I check my folder for my portfolio for what I want to keep for them and see if it's been a while since I've kept assignments. And if it has, then I'll date them and put them in the folder. But for the most part, I just recycle their old assignments. And I do it this week, the week of the first year I homeschooled. I put it all aside, and then it was so overwhelming come like April or May. And so now I literally recycle every week. I tend to keep some things, and it's been like more of the creative writing things, because I feel like that's where their personalities come out, and it doesn't really come out in their math worksheet. And then the second step is what I'm going to show you now. I'm going to try and flip the camera over my shoulder. We'll see how that works. Okay. So I realize this is not the best angle, but I'm just going to try it and go with it. So this is my Mardel spread of the weekly assignments. It's super simple. I have really liked it, and I've been using it for a couple months now, and I'm still really liking it. So the first thing I end up doing is labeling the side with math, language arts, independent work. I think then I do history and science, and then the Sunlight, HBL, and then I do a little bit of preschool. So I label all of that, and then I get started. I do have my kids color-coded a bit. My oldest son is blue, my daughter is red. The first thing I usually do is check the calendar, but I realized I didn't have anything put in here for this week. But I do know we are doing Nature Day with friends, and so I'm gonna mark that down here, and that just takes kind of our whole day. And I don't usually even count it as like a school day. I have that marked down, and then the Big Kids Enrichment Day sits over here. And then I realize I only have 3 days to work with, which is important when I'm setting up my calendar. And so now I realize I have to kind of squish some things into the week, but we'll see how that goes. But the first thing I do then is I look back and I make sure that we did everything from the week prior, which we did. Now I'm just gonna fill in things. So I like to fill in the Mardel planner without consulting any of my teacher's guides or anything yet, because I just want it full to work off of, because this is probably the most important thing to me. And even if nothing else gets done, I really need this to be filled out. And so I will just take, like he did lesson 21 last time, so he's gonna do lesson 22 of Saxon math, which is going well. And if you want an update on that, I just made an August update to talk a little bit more about how much I'm really liking that. And then I have my daughter going as well, but she tends to do 2 lessons at a time out of Saxon 1, and that's just a good pace for her. And so I found that out, which I really like, so I can just write these in. That's math, and I'll check their instructor's guides in just a second, but that's probably the easiest. I'm going to skip language arts because that tends to take me the longest. I'm going to set up their logic and handwriting, which is their independent work. And since we do copy work with Sunlight on the first and last day of the week, that's usually when I put logic for their kind of independent work, and then handwriting is in the middle. So they get a little bit of Danielian handwriting practice and then 1 page of logic each week. So that is independent work. I'm just going to check it off, and I know that it's going to take us about a year to get through the resources we have, so I'm not too worried about which lesson we're on for those resources. And then it gets to history and science. So I just pulled out the instructor's guide for Sunlight for week 5 for science, and I'm actually going to double up because if you watched my update video, I didn't get the science until later, so I've been doubling up history. So my plan is to double up week 5 and week 6 on this current week, which might be hard since it's a 3-day week. So maybe I won't. Maybe I won't double up like I was planning on. Maybe I'll just do week 5 on this 3-day week, and then next week when we have a 4-day week, I will do 2. I think that's what I'm going to do. Otherwise, it's just too fast. I get the 5-day science just because I love science. The HBL, I got the 4-day, but not the science. I got 5 days for that. And so I tend to do our experiments on Wednesdays because my twins are with my in-laws. And so I will write that experiment down here. So experiment for week 5. But then otherwise we have 4 days of reading, science, and this will be day 21, day 22, then we'll do day 23 plus the inventor's book, which I've been really enjoying, page 16 to 17. So that's the plan, and then we'll do the experiment for how do plants drink, which I will look up more of that shortly, but I just want to write it down that that's my plan for science. No history for this week, just science. And then as for what I usually write down here, under Sunlight, this is where I will write Bible, memory verse, and read aloud. And then as well as our calendar. We're working on a calendar. And I'll just write this every day. Again, I'm not really worried about where we are because these things kind of float. I'm not really particular. I follow the basic plan for the read aloud, but we're a little bit ahead right now. And sometimes we've been a little bit behind, so that's not a big deal. And then the Bible, we were ahead because we started it last year, and we're just following the verses as we go. I shoot for 1 a week, but sometimes we need an extra week to totally memorize it, and that's totally fine. So I just mark the days, because what I do in my Sunlight binder here is I write down the dates we do it. So it doesn't really matter when I do it. I just want to keep that as a date. And then since these are the copied pages of the instructor's guide, I keep this in kind of a portfolio, so I know when I did things. So it's a little less important to have this be super detailed. This is more for me on the day of to know what I'm planning on doing, so I can just check it off really fast and not have to think about it. And then it comes down to this preschool one. So I've been following the Sunlight preschool program, and very, very loosely. And so I'm following kind of their letters, like we did letter C the first week. I just started with them. And so week 3 will be the letter A. And so I'll start pulling out some letter A resources. A lot of my resources are Abeka resources because I didn't actually buy this whole kit from Sunlight. And so I'll just make a note of doing the A cards. So that's both the Alphabet Friends cards from Abeka as well as the developmental cards. And I'll just do those every day as well as the Sunlight for week 3. My plan is to stretch this program out over 1.5 years. And so we're pretty much doing 2 days a week, not 3 days a week. So it's super casual on all of our reading. And so I can't remember exactly which dates I'm on. I can check that. Oh yeah, so we did Sunlight day 3 here, day 3, day 4. So that means I'm doing tomorrow Sunlight day 5 and 6. So that means I'm doing Sunlight day 7 and 8. So that means I will just be reading these stories, day 7, day 8 stories this week. So again, very casual. My twins do go to a preschool just down the block for 2 mornings, and so they get a lot of good stuff there. So as for finishing out the rest of the planning, I have language arts, which this takes a little bit more because it's not quite as like just do the next lesson. Let me show you what I mean. So with my son, we're doing all about reading, all about spelling, and Sunlight. And with the all about spelling, I'm only doing all about spelling 3 days a week, which actually works for this week, but usually that just means I don't do spelling on Mondays, but since it's Nature Day, it doesn't really matter. But I always do spelling Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And so I'll put that out here, and I'll look back on what we did. So I finished with him on all about reading 12B, so that I tend to split the lessons into 2. And so you can see here that he finished on 12B, so that means I'm going to do 13, the first part of 13, second part of 13, first part of 14. And I'll look at those in just a second. And then here he was doing step 8 for all about spelling level 1, so now he's going to do step 9. And that usually just takes us about 3 days, and it works really well. And as for Sunlight, he does 1 week of Sunlight level 1. So let me get out my Sunlight guide here, and this is where I'll figure out a plan. I don't tend to do very many of these phonics exercises, really hardly any at all. I pretty much just do creative expression and the I Can Read It book. For him, I can easily squish this into 3 days, because a lot of times that 4th day I take or leave the practice like it's 5 vowels, and he's just doing all about reading, so he doesn't really need the Sunlight practice in that sense. And so I'll just have him do the copy work. Number 1, I'll have him do the day 2 usually is some sort of grammar, so this is the a or an lesson, which is good. And then here's the creative expression, so he's doing another imagination story. And so I'll look closer at that, see if I have to prepare anything. And so that will be what I do for Sunlight. So it's not pulling in a ton of stuff for him. And then I'm going to switch and do my daughter really quick. And she does not do all about spelling yet. She just does all about reading, because she's still in level 1. And we'll start all about spelling once she gets to level 2 of all about reading. And so she finished out 12A. So she'll do 12B, 13A, and 13B. And then as you can see, I already had her Sunlight written in here. The reason is because I have her going at a little bit of a faster pace. And so what I mean by that is for a 2-week span, we do 3 weeks of Sunlight. And that's just to get her a little bit more caught up with her brother, because when we get to level D, I want them to kind of be at the same spot. So I'm just working her a little fast, and she's more than capable of the language art level K right now. And so I had already split out my 3 weeks over 2 weeks when I was planning last week. So that's kind of nice. I already have kind of the plan written there. And so this is my big planning. I hope that was helpful and not too boring, because I do just do the next lesson a lot of times, but I don't always. It really depends on how I have placed them. Like for instance, I've placed my daughter in math a little bit low so she can go fast. Same with her language arts for Sunlight, she can go a little faster. So things like that, and like no history this week. So it's all different, because I considered doing a crate system. I know a lot of people have done that, but the thing is, you can see how much I customize it every week, and I think a crate system would drive me a little bit nuts. So that's kind of my big step too. And a lot of times I stop here, like I only have that much time, but I still have 2 big steps to do to finish up my planning for the week. So let's hop into that. Sorry, this is a weird angle and a weird light. So what I'm going to show you next is how I fill in their binders. And this is super simple. So like for instance, like I was saying, usually I grab all of their assignments from last week, which I didn't do because I was just filming over there for you. But the only one I'm going to plan on pulling out from this past week was the writing assignment. Yeah. So I'm going to pull out his writing assignment. Everything else gets recycled. And the same for my daughter. So she has a big stack of stuff to be recycled, and all except for her little writing assignment, which I'm going to keep. And so now their binders are ready to be filled up, and I just grabbed my planner. And so what I do is I just put my planner out here, and I'll just work on my son's stuff first, and I just follow across. So I know that I need 3 things of math for those lessons, and so I will pull that out first. And so I'll just probably speed this up for you guys. So that is what I have. I put these in their desks and we're ready for next week. So the last thing I have to do, which I think I'm actually going to get interrupted here really soon, but that's okay because I finished kind of one big step. And then I'm going to look through all the instructor's guides and see if this is a good plan. But that's my next and final step, because that will also help me feel more ready for next week as I know what's coming. So let me shift you back over there and I'll finish out kind of my planning for the week. All right, so I'm back over here, and now I'm going to be going through all of the things I have planned. I'm just going to start from the top and work down. So the top, I have math. So I'm going to pull out the gigantic Saxon book here, and I'm going to check the lessons. I'm going to check to make sure, one, that I don't have anything to prepare. Sometimes I have to prepare something or grab some fact sheets or things like that. So it's really helpful to look through the lessons, and I'm looking through 22, 23, and 24. So let me do that. So I have a couple things I have to cut out, like construction paper cutouts, but this looks very doable. So I'm going to keep with my original plan, and I'll make note to go cut those out after I'm done filming. You don't need to watch me do that. So that's math for my son. And then my daughter, this is the one that I definitely have to check a little bit more, because there's just more going on with her. She's just doing more lessons, and I have gotten caught off guard by not being prepared for her stuff before. Okay, so for her stuff, it's not too bad. There's the part where I had to cut out some magazine pictures. Sometimes I just don't do that stuff with the Saxon math. We'll see if I do that. But it looks pretty straightforward, and I also feel like I can teach the 2 lessons together, because that's also what I like to check. I like to check, like, for instance, I have lesson 30 and 31 planned for Tuesday. I need to make sure that I can do both of those, that one's not like a particularly long lesson or anything like that. And so that was fine. It's all about reading and spelling for my son. So this is a big one. This is usually the subject that I sometimes end up squishing things. And so, yeah, so I don't know. With the level 2 readers, I feel like the stories have gotten longer. But like, for instance, lesson 13 is just one story. But it also talks about envelopes and warm-up sheets. I'll probably keep it at 2. And if we need to, we'll break up the story into 2 days. We've done that before. It's not too big of a deal. Otherwise, he gets a little bit tired. So I think I'm actually going to be fine with that. And then let me check what I say, step 9 for all about spelling. That should be fine. It's just the short U sound. He's been kind of flying through the beginning of all about reading, to be honest. So I think he will be fine with that. And then all about reading for my daughter. She is on 12. Okay. And it's 2 stories. That's fine. And then letter E. Okay. That should be more than fine. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over my science book. Is actually over there because we're currently doing the experiment for this week today, and so it's out, and we've got all the sheets of paper over there. So I'll double check week 5 experiment just to make sure I don't need anything, and that really, it should be fine. That is a lot of what I check. And then the last thing is the preschool. I'll just make sure to get those Animal Friends cards and stuff onto our calendar board so that I can grab them during kind of our morning time, breakfast time reading routine. So Yeah, I hope that wasn't too speedy, but I feel like those are kind of the four big areas that I do my weekly planning. First, I go through all of the old materials and see what I want to keep. And second, I do the bulk of my planning. In my planner, I figure out what we're going to be doing. And this really helps me. Like I said, I just don't have super straightforward subjects. Not all of them are just do the next lesson. So I need this to really help myself kind of pre-plan what I'm going to do on what days and what I might skip. Because some things like the Sunlight Language Arts Level K for my daughter, I skip some stuff. I don't feel like we need to do it all, and I just make that decision. Same with preschool stuff, I just pick and choose. So I need to think about that ahead of time. I don't plan well on the fly, which I've shared before in a different video. I can't remember which one that was about, but anyway, so that is how I set up my week. I hope that was helpful. And don't forget to go check out Abby's channel, Jessica's channel, all the playlists for all the other wonderful moms putting together their plans for the week. And otherwise, that's all I have for this video. Thank you for taking the time to watch it. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you in the next homeschool video. All right, take care. Bye.